Mr. Metzger, thank you. What did you think about last night, seeing a guy like Mike Metzger getting all those adulations?
I am always honored with each and every one of my family members. Yeah. They're all so super, but it's always an honor to see one of them. But hey, they've been doing this through life. They've been great from day one.
So they talked a lot about you last night. They talked about how what Mike did and all the other family members have accomplished because you have been an inspiration. First of all, talk to me about your mom and dad. Give me a little background of your family.
I was blessed. I was blessed with a super mom and dad from day one. And it made life so much easier because as I got through grammar school and then high school and then service came along, which was an honor to be there, I'll tell you. And I am the last living member of the crew that I was with overseas.
Talk a little bit about where are you from? Where's hometown for you?
Pardon?
Where's hometown? Where are you?
I was born Rochester, New York, and I'm still there.
And what did your dad do for a living?
My dad was, you name it. He started out, he was in the warehouse business. Mm-hmm. And the warehouse business in Rochester grew like overnight and got huge. And then when I was a student in school, I started working part-time in the warehouse, which was one of the better things I did because one of the clients in the warehouse was RT French Company. Ah. And so I was always talking to the representative of RT French. So time came when the warehouse was going to close. RT French said, hey, why don't you come with us? And I said to him, well, what do you have for me? And they said, while you're going to school, we'll have a warehouse position, and when you graduate, you can graduate into the office area. And I was there for my entire life. Super company.
Oh, fantastic. Now, when were you born? What's your birthday?
March 10th, 1925.
So you went to what school?
I went to St. Ambrose School for Grammar, Aquinas Institute for high school, and St. Bonaventure for college.
So what year did you graduate from high school?
I graduated from high school in 1950. Mm-hmm. And immediately, 4 days later, I was in service.
So you're born in 1925. Do you remember December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor Day?
Everyone remembers that day.
What do you remember about that?
All I remember, it was where the attack that came on our company felt like it was an attack on each and every one of us. Mm-hmm. And the way that the service handled it, I thought was great. But it was a struggle. They got beat up there.
So when that all happened, you probably heard it on the radio, Pearl Harbor and Franklin Roosevelt. This is a day of infamy. What did your family react? What was your mom and dad? How did they react to all of this?
If I remember correctly, they were shocked. My mom and dad were always concerned not only about family but also other people, and they realized that what was the next thing to come was, and everyone got involved at all ages into the service.
Including you?
including me, and that was an honor. I felt it was an honor that I could go off to Italy and all those nice places.
Were you drafted or did you enlist?
Believe it or not, I was in high school, and I wasn't eligible to the end of my senior year, and they actually drafted me.
Okay.
And it was like I graduated on Sunday. I was in service on Friday.
So you were drafted into the Army?
Yes.
And where did you go to boot camp?
I went to boot camp in St. Louis, Missouri. What was the name of it? And it was famous. Oh, rats, how can I forget that? It'll come to me.
Well, while they're at boot camp, you're there being integrated with other people. You didn't know. What was it like?
Well, I was so far away, being in St. Louis and the family being in Rochester. I didn't see my family. See, I was like, I believe, a couple months, I was 3 months there in St. Louis, and then I got an immediate transfer to go to school in New York City.
What were you being trained for in New York City?
Is electrical. What it ended up was how to blow up things. And I learned fairly well, I hope.
Yeah. And so you're now getting trained in New York City. Did you get a sense where you might end up, where the next stay was?
Had no idea.
Yeah.
Everything was, for everyone in service, it was unknown.
Right. So where did you go next? After New York City, you learn about electronics, explosives, to blow up things?
My next step was I went to, where did I go? Virginia, and I was shipped overseas over to, we were supposed to go to Africa, but unfortunately the boat I was on, lucky or unlucky, broke down, and I didn't make after Africa, but I did get into Italy immediately.
Now, what's your time frame here? You're on your way, you're going in the Atlantic, you're on your way off to Italy. Is this 1943, 44? What's the time period?
I was there, let's see, I got out of school. It had to be 43.
43?
I believe. I'm kind of...
No, I realize.
One thing that happens as you get older, sometimes you forget what happened way back when. But it was an honor for me, I'll tell you, to be with my friends going overseas.
So you're on the Atlantic, you're working your way towards Italy. Do you remember getting in any storms? Did you have to worry about U-boats? Did you find the ship was zigzagging its way across?
U-boats were a major problem. We were blessed to have the U.S. submarines and always at our side.
So you had a fleet. You were going with a fleet over.
I went with the fleet. I did. Yep.
Remember the boat you were on? Remember that?
Cristobal.
Cristobal. Okay. And what kind of ship was that?
It was originally it was a banana boat, and they converted it for service people, yep. And it was enjoyable. I'll tell you, the best part that we had was good food on the boat.
Did you ever get sick?
Pardon?
Did you ever get seasick?
Not really, I didn't. I was lucky. A lot of them did.
Where did you land in Italy? Do you remember?
Yes. We originally were supposed to stop at Africa and then go up, but we got delayed, and because of the delay, I didn't until, not Brazil.
Sicily?
What?
Sicily? Did you land at Sicily?
We stopped at Sicily, and we didn't get off, mainly because that the war had already pushed further north.
Okay.
So I started below. Rats. It was a major spot in.
And
Naples, Papa.
Naples.
Thank you.
Thank you. Holy mackerel.
Yeah, there's your.
All right.
There's your history.
That's my kids coming through.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was very unusual. But I'll tell you, our landing was perfect, mainly because of the support of the U.S. troops.
Was there any, at that point, German resistance when you were landing on Naples, or had that been cleared out?
That had cleared up. It was the Germans were, at that time, they were off on the other side of the Mediterranean. They were off by the, what was the name of that? The other sea, on the other side of Italy. Did we get to see some of them? Yes, we did, but we're not in hand-to-hand combat with them. But we were always shooting and keeping our distance to keep them away from us. And then things in Europe opened up, and the Germans, automatically, most of them, not all, moved out.
So you're working your way through, you're in the Italian campaign, you're working your way from Naples north.
Yep.
And inevitably, the Germans are in somewhat retreat. Had Italy surrendered at that point? I think there's a time where Mussolini is left, and Italy surrendered.
You know, I don't remember that part.
Yeah. It may not have.
All we knew was the direction we were getting from our leaders to say what we were going to do. And our major effort was to assist the airport. We built and runways, etc., for the heroes of the war, which were the fighting Air Force people. They were amazing people.
Did you have a chance to interface at all with the pilots? They'd come into the base, which you were building. Did you interface with them at all? Did you talk to them?
Occasionally, yes, because, especially if one of them had trouble. But we also, to tell you, with this wild war going on, we also played baseball against them.
No kidding.
And they beat us, I hate to tell you that.
So what was your position?
Mine, I always liked to play shortstop or third base.
Well, the best athlete in the field is always the shortstop. So that's you? You were the best athlete?
Well, I wouldn't say I was the best, because there was a lot of great ones around me, I'll tell you that.
Well, I am to tell your great-grandchildren that you're the best. This is important.
Well, I was just honored to be in that group. But I'll tell you, what I did learn about the Air Force, they were remarkable people, and how those guys would jump into those fighter planes and come back beat up, it was sinful.
Now, not everybody came back.
No.
So when there was a loss, either to somebody in your unit or in the pilots, how was the morale? Was there time to mourn, or did you say that's just war and let's keep moving?
Believe it or not, it was sad. We just kept moving because you were looking out what was going to happen the next minute. So we did receive a lot of bombing at night from our great friends.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, my respect for what these pilots did was unbelievable.
As you're being in the Army on the front line, did you have a sense of fear? Was there a kind of foxhole religion that you had?
You were scared. I don't care who you were or what rank you were. You're scared. But the thing that you knew that came first, that you had a duty to perform, and the duty was help your fellow service people. And I was with a very small unit, and we were all so tight together, it was unbelievable. They were just great.
If you had to define what your unit was responsible for, what would you say?
What was my responsibility?
Yeah.
To make sure I was with a unit where that as we were going up, I was with the machine gun unit, and our unit was to make sure that things were going to be clear for the rest of them.
As a result of that, what kind of intelligence did you have? Because you're moving forward, everything's moving forward, you're moving north, ultimately to move towards Germany. What kind of intelligence were you able to get?
The intelligence from what was going on with the Germans?
Yeah, in the front of you, yeah.
Okay, believe it or not, that was not part of my requirements.
Yeah.
But for those that were, they did one fantastic job, because we didn't lose that many in our unit.
Yeah.
But they always, but the protection that the Air Force gave, those guys were amazing. If there was troubles north of us, it seemed like the Air Force went in first before anyone else. I only have great respect for those people.
By the way, what was the name of your unit? What was your division?
I was with the 1006 Aviation Engineers. That was my official title of our group. And a super group of guys. Everybody seemed like held hands together.
Did you write back home a lot? How did you communicate back home with your mom and dad?
Not as often as I would like, I would tell you. But the mail service was, I would think, pretty good. We didn't get mail very often, but when we did, it was a blessing. You may get like 2, 3, 4, or what from your family. But my family was unbelievable.
Did you have any other siblings that were in the war? Did you have any brothers or sisters?
I did not.
Yeah.
No, I only had one older sister in life.
Got it. So, what did your sense of when your mom and dad wrote you? what were they saying to you? What was the emotion of them?
The emotion was how much they loved me and wanted me to get back home.
Right.
And I'll tell you, I was blessed with my family, my mom and dad, I had one sister. Unbelievable.
So you're in Italy, we got you in Italy, and you're moving yourself north. Did you find yourself getting out of Italy? Did you get up further north of that during the campaign?
I only got up to a little beyond Naples, and it was like that's when everything broke loose up in Europe. Mm-hmm. So the Germans, they pulled out because it was saving their own soldiers up in that area. It was a lucky time that I was there.
Well, they knew you were coming. That's why they were running.
Well, I don't know but yes, the Germans were on the run.
Yep. So they knew the greatest shortstop since Honus Wagner was coming their way.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'll tell you, I was with a group of people that were very unusual, and rank didn't make any difference what you were all shaking hands to do one thing, help each other.
So did you have a chance to get any Liberty time and to go out into the Italian community to meet any of the natives?
After all of the excitement broke, yes, we did. In fact, I'll tell you, the service even arranged that they had special flights for us to go to Rome and visit the Pope, and it was a super arrangement they had. We lived at the I was going to say Pope's Castle. What do you call? Well, wherever the building he was in, so were we.
Did you meet him?
As he drove by in his car, I waved.
He said, "Hey, Metzger, how are you?"
Yay! He didn't know me from beans, but he always made the way that things were arranged. They made you feel at home, which was an art.
So, did you have a chance to interact with the Italians? Were they happy with the American troops? The Germans had just left. The occupation had concluded. Mussolini is dead, or left. How did they treat you as a serviceman?
We were like kings. The Italian people were beat up. The Americans gave them a little bit of what you call life, and they appreciated everything. In fact, the American government even helped some of them get started back into, most of them were farmer type, grapes and you name it, but they helped the civilian people an awful lot, which helped us as well.
I'm not going to ask you in front of all of your children whether there was any other interactions with any of the Italian people, so I'm not going to ask that question. Not appropriate to ask it with this audience. Okay.
Well, I didn't have any other than with the service people. Mainly, I'll tell you, it was difficult, but I'll tell you the thing that happened with what those poor Italian people had all gone through. They were offering women, especially their bodies, for $1 or whatever it was. And hey, most of us felt we were all afraid of disease and what it would do for us. But the the service people were unbelievable.
Yeah.
I got it, and I'll hook it up. Yeah.
Technician, I like that. You've done this before, I think.
There.
Okay. Good.
No, I look back in my service, I was blessed. I had supervision, which I liked, and because they all roughed up their sleeves and they were part of the action.
Do you remember VE Day when victory in Europe, when it was announced and here you are in Italy? Do you remember the receiving it and reaction?
It wasn't as exciting as what one would think, because fortunately the German people were out of our way. So we had the time to relax a little bit before all of that announcement and stuff happened. But was it an honor? Holy mackerel. As soon as, well, when the war in Europe really got into motion, the Germans, they all fled. They needed help in Europe.
Yep.
So I was in a special, unique position.
You're in, so now the war ends, you're still in Italy. How long were you in Italy?
It's always to say too long, but after Italy was, after all the excitement, I was there for probably 8-9 months.
Okay.
And things were settling down. They were trying to make, the attention was all Air Force, because those pilots were still on duty, flying their way up and fighting for the Americans up in Europe.
So when were you sent home to the United States? Do you remember when you got back here?
Well, I had a little time off. Because of health problems that I had, they sent me to British Guiana, which was a big Air Force base down there. And there they had a medical unit, of which I became part of for a while. But I was in recuperation there for like, I don't know, 2.5, 3 months. But, you know, people talk about what service does for you. I can't complain, because they went overboard for everything that I think about. And I was with groups that made it enjoyable.
So from British Guiana, then did you come back to the United States?
I went back to Fort Moyer. Yes, we stayed there a short time, and then I was transferred to, where was I transferred to? Oh, up north to, rats. It was the Air Force Base by Albany. Mm-hmm. And I was discharged maybe a month later.
And then you go back to Rochester.
And then I was back home to my super family.
So you walk in the door day one, and they hadn't seen you in a long time. What was the reaction like?
Heaven. I had a family of families, I'll tell you. I don't know what the other guys encountered, but I was, well, they, with the mail situation when I was there, it seemed like I was everyone envied me for the amount of mail, and my mom was always sending packages, and I think a lot of my friends enjoyed it because there was always something in it for them as well.
You became very popular because of probably your food packages.
You bet they were food packages. And when they came, everyone was there to help me open it up. But as I say, I was blessed with a very unusual group of people.
So you come in, day one, they're very excited. Do you remember your first meal? Could you remember what it is they made for you, that special
Oh,
meal?
my mom and dad?
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was, but all I remember, it was super delicious. But my mom was a good cook, period. But the friendship that my mom and dad and my sister, all of the days that I was in service, I was blessed. I don't think other guys had the treatment that I was receiving.
I'm going to ask the question, we're in the service, you're with a group of people for a significant period of time. Was there anything humorous, anything unusual? Normally you think of the service, Army as very sober, focused. Was there anything funny that happened to either to you or to your fellow serviceman that you'd say, Greg, you're not going to believe this?
Well, there was too many things that happened when in the combat time, because you didn't believe anything, period. Everything was so unusual. But after things had calmed down, I was blessed. I was with a group of people that we only had 80 in the whole group, and which meant that we could be closer in friends. I enjoyed every one of them. I was, by the way, nicknamed the Kid.
The Kid?
That's because I was the youngest.
Well, Babe Ruth referred to all of his friends, all the great baseball players that he played with, as the Kid. So I can see why you got that name also. Your baseball prowess. You're remarkable. This is just so much fun to talk to you about this.
Well, I was blessed. I started out at Fort Niagara and got transferred to St. Louis. What was the name of that? It was a tough spot for basic training, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And after that, it was off to Italy. But Italy wasn't, by the time I got there, remember, and I was Air Force, in which you're not on the front line. I had a blessed life. I look at my service life, I'm not going to tell you enjoyable, but it certainly was. I was with a group of people I was delighted to be with.
Well, you're part of that greatest generation, and all we can do is salute you for your patriotism and your duty, service to duty. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. But as the war was winding down, the biggest thrills we had was playing baseball against the Air Force and trying to beat them. They had more power than we. They had more people than we. But those guys were unbelievable. And for the duty they had, I can't say enough for them.
All right, all of this, the peanut gallery here, has all listened to this. Now, I bet there's a question that you have of him that you'd like to ask. Now's the time. Or a story he's told you that he hasn't told us yet.
Why don't you talk about the motorcycle?
The motorcycle story.
Yeah.
All right, now we're talking. All right.
We ended up, I won't say we stole one, but we ended up with a motorcycle, American motorcycle. And all of us thought we were hot shots, including me, and you would jump on, you'd think you knew how to operate it. Well, to make a long story short, I took it one day, and the next thing I knew, I was out in a field hospital. I had missed something, but the motorcycle went one way and I went the other. But hey, those are things that you look back and you can now laugh at, but I wasn't laughing at the time.
So tell me, how did your commanding officer, what did he say when you had to explain all this, that you were injured and not the line of duty?
How about your?
My commanding officer was not as commanding as he should be. It was my lieutenant was the one that kind of chewed me down and told me what life was all about. So I learned a lot from not only the accident, but also from the discipline that I received after it.
Well, let's talk, well, before that, what kind of discipline did you get?
The discipline I got was more duty.
KP duty, or?
The duty I had was, it ended up, because I was injured, they put me in a mechanics group in our unit, and which I was working with super intelligent guys, and I knew nothing about what I was doing, so they got me out of there in a hurry to drive a truck. And I ended up driving, at the end of my service, I was driving a truck for the unit and took people wherever they wanted to go. Well, not where they wanted to go, but where they had to go.
Okay. All right, more questions.
Hey, Pop. What about when on the way home you stole the ice cream on the way home on the ship?
Ice cream story. Let's hear about it. Yeah.
Well, everyone had a partner, and I had one, and we were wandering around the ship, and we walked by this one room that had the door partly open. We opened it up, and it happened to be the freezer compartment of ice cream. So I hate to say, but we made pigs of ourselves eating ice cream, but it was delicious.
So between ice creams and motorcycles, be wary. Other questions. This is great. Any other three stories he told you?
How about Papa? How about the wool bathing suit?
The what?
Wool bathing suit.
The wool.
With Johnny Kowalski.
Oh. Italy was, as you were walking or marching up, there was one water, there was a lot of nice ponds and everything that were inviting. Well, one day we happened to stop by a pond, and all of us jumped in. What happened was, the next day there was people trying to sell us something, and I wanted one major thing, and it was a bathing suit. I bought this bathing suit, and I think it was made out of wool or something, I don't know, because when I jumped in the water, the wool was taking the bathing suit right off of me, and my good friends laughed like crazy. So I didn't have a bathing suit for long.
That's a great story. Other stories. This is fabulous.
Well, actually, the end of the motorcycle story, Dad You didn't tell them that the end of the motorcycle story is that some of your friends, because you needed a motorcycle, went out and got one from the Germans that even had a sidecar. Right, Dad?
When you got the sidecar, the motorcycle with the sidecar after you crashed the...
Oh, when we got that?
Yeah.
Oh, we thought we were kings because we had this German motorcycle with a sidecar, so here we are riding around like this until our officer decided that that was not the right thing to do. But it was fun while we could do it.
Curiosity, where did you get the motorcycle?
It was German. We, on our way up, it got in their way and we took it.
Ah, abandoned. Got it.
In fact, we ended up with a fair amount of German trucks and whatever. They had to leave things in a hurry and we confiscated whatever was behind.
Did you bring home any souvenirs?
Believe it or not,
You lost your luggage.
Yeah, your luggage got stolen.
what
You tried to, but you lost your luggage, remember? Your luggage got stolen on the way home.
I did. When I flew from British Guiana back to the States, my bag disappeared. And when it did, I had also purchased things in British Guiana for my family. They took just the good stuff.
Customs.
But
Yeah.
so I ended up, when I came home, I was embarrassed because all the things that I thought I was going to surprise them with were gone.
Yeah.
What? The best surprise came back, Dad.
What?
The best surprise came back. That was having you back. That was better than anything.
Well, it was an honor that I was back. My parents were unbelievable. And I had an older sister, and they made my life and service a treat.
What's the question we should be asking you that we have not asked you yet?
What is that?
I don't know. What's that?
I have a great respect for the people in service that I was with and also those who were in leadership because things went very well for me.
Do you remember when Franklin Roosevelt died? How, you're in Italy, the word comes across that the President of the United States died. Do you remember that day?
Everyone remembers that day. It was a shock because I don't care whether you're Democrat, Republican, or what you were, Roosevelt was someone very special. He was very special to service people.
I gotta tell you, this has been fabulous. You're fabulous, and your memory is so clear. You're remarkable.
I have been lucky. I was lucky to find the wife that I had and ended up with a super family like I have. Blessed.
We would be remiss if we ended this conversation without you telling me how you met your wife.
I was more interested when I came back. I was interested in sports. I used to, I was shortstop or third base. That was my position, and it seems like that was all I did. Well, it came in my senior year, just before graduation. One of my friends in my class, his family had gotten a TV. And way back then, believe it or not many people had TVs. And he invited a few of us over and said, you know, bring your girlfriend. Well, I didn't have one. But my roommate said, hey, his girlfriend had a friend that may be interested. And that is how I met my wife. I took her to that party, and after the party, which I didn't talk to her hardly at all because the men were watching TV and the girls were shooting the breeze, I apologized and said, may I have the honor of going out with you? And she fortunately said yes, and that's how everything started. I was lucky. She was a very enjoyable person from day one.
What was your name?
Pardon?
What's her name?
Treese.
How did you ask her parents for marriage? Do you remember that day?
I did. I had been going with her for a while. My dad had a liquor store and I used to work several nights, so I didn't have all the free time that other people had. But after we had gone together for a fair amount of time, there was one evening, I don't know, it was her birthday or some type of celebration, and that's when I asked her if she would be interested in me in marriage.
But you also had to ask her dad.
I had already talked to her mother and father, and they gave me the go-ahead. Oh, her mom and dad were unbelievable people.
Were you nervous going to their parents and asking them?
I was shaking in my boots, if you want to know the truth. Yes, I was. Because my fear was that if they ever said no, I don't know what I would have ever done.
So she says yes. I can see the rest of the story. She says yes. Next thing you know, you get married, and that was the end of your athletic career. I can just see that.
Hey, believe it or not, it wasn't the end of my athletic career. We still continued with baseball.
Oh, good for you. You're unusual.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you. I worked at Archie French Company, and they were in the Industrial League. And way back then, Kodak was big time. And we actually played, and we ended up in a final deal and beat Eastman Kodak. No one in the city could believe it, and even we on the team were surprised.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
And on that note, we better end. Thank you very much. This is great.
Thank you so much. You made the interview easy. Thank you.
Well, sometime I'll share with you the interview I did with your son and his wife. It's about...
Well, I've been blessed with a family of families, I'll tell you.
Yeah,
and as they keep growing, I get luckier and luckier.
Well, they're lucky too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Brad. Great.